session. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the latest Community's Good Practice sessions that are facilitated by the four home countries. This is the third session of four within this particular quarter that we've organised, and the session tonight is titled "I am not sure what and how I record things within my record experience to progress to the next level." If that's not the session you're expecting, then lucky you, you get the additional topic to cover tonight. Before we kind of do get started, we have got two very esteemed colleagues who are going to do the presenting for us tonight. And I'm sure they will be delighted to introduce themselves. So I'm a gentleman. So Joyce, would you like to go first? And then we'll introduce Paul.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joyce Whiten. I'm a track judge most of the time from Scotland. I do know some of you from trips down to England. Those of you that I don't know, it's nice to have you on board tonight. And hopefully, we can help you for recording stuff so that you can progress through the different levels. That's the aim of the course, and I'm looking forward to it. So nice to see you all.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Miss Darcy.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Darcy. I am a field official from the South. I'm also a member of the TRNG, so I take part in a lot of the assessments of ROEs when they come forward for assessment for upgrades, etc.
Thank you very much. Right, now this was working, like I say, before we started this. So, here we go. Slideshow. There we go. Can I just get somebody to quickly wave or a thumbs up that you can actually see what's on the screen? Perfect. Thank you very much indeed. So, kind of already got to this slide, but this is a session we're covering tonight. A copy of this presentation and the recording from this will be shared after the call, most likely towards the end of the week, but it will be shared around. So if you have any questions or you forget to write anything down, don't worry, you will get a copy of everything afterwards. So this is the agenda that we're going to cover tonight. Bit about what the My Athletics portal is, how to access your record of experience, recording your duties and some examples, completing the what did I learn section, and giving a few examples of that. And then we'll then go into how to download your record of experience. At that point, we will have a quick break, a bit of a refreshment break, facilities break, whatever. And then we will kind of then go through a demonstration of the record experience process, adding a kind of a fake entry, if you want, on my personal account, and then kind of downloading your record experience thereafter. So that's what we're going to cover tonight. If you have any questions at any point during the session, by all means, please pop them in the chat. And what we'll probably do is either at various stages of tonight, or we'll do it just before or after the break and answer as many questions as we can. So, Mr. Darcy, would you like to take over from Mr. Ritchie, please?
Okay, thanks, Mark. Hopefully everyone can hear me well enough. So this little bit here is an introduction, if you like, to My Athletics portal. Now we've realised that for some people using the technology, the online database is still proving quite problematic. I have one official in the Southwest, for example, who doesn't have access to the internet because he lives exceptionally remotely. So it's not for everybody, and we also realise that in quite a few cases, people are a little bit reluctant to access data via links, even through a sort of trusted website, etc. However, for the majority of us using the athletics portal, the My Athletics portal is a very convenient way of achieving a log rather than trying to pen amend or pen everything down and then capture it later. The portal itself you can find either by using those key links in a simple Google search or by typing myathleticsportal.englandathletics.org, and that will take you through to a page which will look something similar to that page that's printed on the PowerPoint slide below. Now, for officials who are also coaches or club members, you will probably be faced initially with information about your club and how many club standards messages and all those sorts of bits and pieces that you get in the first bit. But if you scroll down on the left-hand side to the My Membership element on the far left-hand side in the grey box, and then click on that and open that, you'll then be presented with a secondary menu, one of which is the record of experience. And that is the initial part of accessing that. The My Portal bit is really useful for other bits and pieces as well. You can upload your license picture at any time. So if you're coming up for a license renewal, you can go back into that and you can update your picture. And it's also where you can apply for your DBS license, etc. There, and it will end up looking like that example on the screen in front of you, with a picture, your URN, date of birth, and your DBS expiry date, for example, on that front page. If you click on My Record of Experience, you'll go to the next slide, which will give you a page which looks something like this. In the top right-hand corner, quite easily, it says Add Record, and that's what we're going to be showing you today. And literally, you just click on the Add Record, and then this drop-down menu will arrive in front of you. You can enter the date. One thing I always fall foul of is if I don't do it on the day of the actual meeting, I forget to change the date, but don't worry, you can always go back in and change that with an edit function. You can enter the event of the name of the event, and then you just literally work down the menu with the drop down arrows on the far right hand side of each of those boxes and enter the details that you want. The area where most of you will, or a lot of people will struggle, particularly at the younger or the less experienced people, is understanding what your main role is. I quite often see people who have been doing something like spiking for a javelin competition, and they might put that they've been the infield spotter because they haven't yet fully experienced those two roles and don't really understand the difference between the two. And that will come with experience and perhaps talking with other people at the event that you're at to fully understand what the name of the main role is that you've been at. The next area will be to talk through the actual duties that you're given. So if we go on to the next slide, thank you, Mark. The big thing here is to remember why you're writing this section of the ROE. This is to capture all of the experiences that you've been lucky enough to be given, whether you're in whichever discipline you're in. We'll start by looking at for example, a field event. And in this particular case, you would enter something along the lines of under 17 men, javelin, and in this particular case, they're a sector judge and a spiker. Now, what isn't clear here is whether they were using a tape to measure that javelin competition or whether they were using EDM spike. So from an assessment point of view, when I'm looking back at to see what people have done in the past, it's useful to have as much but accurate detail as you can. So quite often we get people who've written quite a lot of text into that field, which is fine, as long as those core duties, which are normally written on a duty sheet, if it's a meeting where you've been lucky enough to have a formal duty sheet. Just effectively just recreate that. And then in the subsequent detail, which we'll come to in a minute, the what did I learn, you can expand on the detail from there. A couple of questions that have come in. The event level. So if we just go back a page, Mark, please, you can see that it says event level. If you're just doing, it's reasonably self-explanatory, but I can see why it might be a little bit complicated. A club or open meeting, and then the next level up will be a regional or county level meeting, and then your international level meetings beyond that. The next question in the group, how would you enter a mixed age group? You could literally write all ages. It doesn't have to be necessarily in that format. And that's the same comment that Sally's just made for those of you that are covering the chat group as well. Easy to understand abbreviations. So JT for javelin throw, PV for pole vault, quite acceptable in here, as long as there's no real confusion about the duties that you've carried out within those. And it's the same for the other disciplines as well. Thinking about how the ROE is taken forward for an assessment, we would like to see all of the various duties that are applicable to each of the roles conducted. Now, for a level 2, so 1 to 2 upgrade, I would be expecting, for example, to be able to see exposure, if you like, to each of those duties. So an understanding that everybody has at least witnessed a pole vault competition if pole vault is available to them. And sometimes I realise that it's not always the case. But also that they've experienced, for example, all of the different long throws, etc., etc. Next slide, please. And here's some examples of the information that you might well put in for other roles into the ROE. And again, it's understanding exactly why you're making those entries really, and trying to cover off as many of the duties as you can. And if you think about it from a field judge's perspective, I think the duty sheet, understanding what duties you had from that duty sheet and putting those into that section is a good starting point.
Thank you very much, Paul. Joyce, over to you now.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, just to maybe expand a wee bit on what Paul was saying about duties. I mean, from a track perspective, I would expect to see people saying that they've judged at the finish line, and maybe if they've judged the last 3, if they've been doing sprints, and if they've got involved in lap charts, that's a useful one to put down, and maybe how many athletes were involved in races like that. So therefore, that gives somebody assessing it the feel for how they've handled lapped runners, etc. Things like the break line, and if that's included positioning the prisms, which it often does at other than very high level meetings, the umpires are doing that. And then even under the umpiring bit, just kind of what you're looking for at different umpiring positions, so just kind of recognition of that. But all of that comes from the duty sheet, as Paul was saying. So when it comes to, what did I learn? This is really about you thinking about yourself, and I think self-reflection is a very important thing, and that's what we're looking to see in these records of experience, is you thinking about what you did, thinking about how well you did things, where you felt confident, maybe where you didn't feel very confident, areas that you think you need to gain more experience. These are things that you should be writing in your record of experience, and just generally what you think you're looking to try and improve upon at your next meeting. So it's development. We don't expect you to know everything, so we're looking for you to pinpoint the things that you feel certain of and sure of, and the things that you're feeling like you need to have more experience in and gain more ability in. And there's a few examples here of the kind of things you might put down on your sheet, just how confident you are. You don't need to worry too much about the sort of aiming for 2 or 3. Don't worry too much about the number of points, because that will vary for every meeting, depending what kind of meeting you're at. And actually, it's probably the meetings where there are more incidents or more issues that you'll actually find you learn the most. So make sure that you kind of think about that and record those things. And just record the specifics of any incidents, because that is where you're learning. And so even if you've not been directly involved in a particular incident, you will have learned a lot from observing how the referee or chief judges deal with certain things. So that's all part of your learning, your observation of what other more experienced officials are doing. So these are good things to record. Meetings where everything runs smoothly are probably the ones where you're not going to learn so much, but that's where you're thinking about consolidating what you do and building on your confidence. And that will happen all the time gradually. Yeah, confidence is really about what you're actually doing. So the more you can sort of do things, the more confident you'll become about them. So where you're doing things that you've done before, you can express that you're feeling like your confidence is improving and building up. Decision making. I mean, again, for lower graded officials, that might be more about the observation of other people, but you're still learning, and it's good to record and name people that you've learned from. So if you've witnessed something particular that was interesting and that you felt you learned from, say who it was and what you feel you've learned from that. Um, on the more formal side of that, some of you will be given mentors, and it's good to reflect on your mentoring experience within your record of experience. So, yes, some of the formal mentoring, if that then reflects in what you're doing at a competition, that's good. But there's lots of informal mentoring goes on. So it's not just about that one person that's been assigned to you. When you're at a meeting, the more experienced officials will always be helping you, and that's a form of mentoring. So I think it's good to note this down on your record. Communication is important. So again, that's reflecting on your own communication skills and also what you're seeing of other people. So not just communication amongst your own team members, but also that interdisciplinary communication, so management communication or athletes, coaches, even parents, if it's youngsters. So all of that communication is important to build your experience on and comment on what you're learning from what other people are doing and what you're seeing experienced people doing. I mean, team working, I think that's again just reflecting on how the team has worked and your kind of role in that, how team leaders operated, for example, chief judges, and even how the referee handled their own leadership role. So what you've learned from all of that is good to include. The rules, obviously, that's quite specific. And that will be dependent a bit on what events there have been at the meeting you've been at. But yeah, just think about the decisions that are taken specifically around the rules and even how that was handled. If there's been a DQ, for example, how that was handled. Yeah, I can see it. Just Sally in the chat saying name drop mercilessly. That's really what I was trying to say. We are looking when we're assessing these things to know who's been helping less experienced officials. So don't be afraid to name people, name your mentor, name the people that you've watched doing things and that you've learned from. So that's a good point that Sally's making. Don't be afraid to name names. These things are that's what's expected. More experienced officials would expect people to name them and hopefully feel that they've learned something from the more experienced officials. So don't be afraid to do that. Equipment, that varies across the disciplines, but if you're getting the opportunity to use EDM equipment, for example, say what you've managed to do, say what you've learned, say maybe what the next steps in using that equipment might be, that you're hoping to do more with that in the future. So that's the kind of thing you want to include there. And obviously just the whole paperwork thing is another really important part of an athletics meeting. So recognising your role in that and just watching and observing what happens to the paperwork when it leaves your team and where it goes. So trying to sort of get a feel for that as you progress is useful as well. Next one, please, Mark. Yeah, so I'm not going to say too much about endurance. That's not my forte, but there will be different things that you can. These are just a few examples of the kind of things that you might be able to record. So it's really about what you've done and yeah, people will give you tips as you're progressing. People will give you little bits of advice about what to do and how something might be easier to do. So all of that's learning and all of that's giving you more confidence. So don't be afraid to include these things. Accuracy and neatness. I think these are all important things and they're all things that you will get better at as you progress. So yeah, watch people who are good at things and learn from their experience and accept advice. Ask questions. You really do need to ask questions, and that's not a bad thing to be putting in a record of experience. We expect, even people who are new level fours going to international meetings, we're still expecting them to ask questions because it's a different environment. And I think that shows it's good about personal development that people are prepared to ask questions and want to constantly improve their own kind of abilities and their own skills. So that's not a negative, that's a positive thing. um, and I think, like, so in photo finish, you could talk about what you've learned in the way of communication with the team and also communication with the track team. That kind of thing is always good. The timekeepers, I mean, that's a good example just of the specifics of what they're having to do, and maybe where they need to go back and look more closely at the rule book. So that kind of thing is all good, and all shows that you're picking up what you're seeing at meetings, and relating that to what you're doing yourself. Getting better at recording lap charts. These kind of things are all things that you do get better at the more you do them. So to begin with, that might be something that you would find tricky, but the more often you do it, the more confident you'll get, but also the more you'll get your concentration in, because that is one that where you do need to keep concentrating. If you lose your focus, then you can lose it. So yes, that kind of thing is good to recognise, and you will find that the more you do these things, the better you'll get. And you can record that. You can say, I was doing lap charts again. I did them at the last meeting, didn't feel very confident, felt more confident this time. I was more accurate this time. I got better. Other officials gave me advice about how it might be easier to get better at these things. So that's all good stuff to be including on your sheets. Yeah, and I think that's just a wee bit of a summary of things, the hints and tips. Am I covering this, Mark, or do you want to cover this one?
I can cover this if you like. So, this is just general hints and tips, basically summarizing what Paul and Joyce have, very articulated themselves very well and kind of summarize things very well. Um, the record of experience, in my personal and humble opinion, is it's a bit like riding a bike. The more you do it, the easier it becomes, the more familiar you become with it. But it's also knowing that other officials round about you have gone through this process. And I know I may look as if I've got a scary face, but generally, we all want to kind of help each other kind of learn and kind of progress through the system and develop within the current levels. We're all here to help each other, and there's no such thing as a silly question. And I talk that from bitter experience. Um, so theoretically, or hypothetically, should I say, we've completed our record of experience. Now it's about kind of downloading your experience. So kind of going back to what Paul was saying earlier, first stage would be to click on the record experience on the left-hand side. And instead of going on to the add record, which Paul mentioned earlier, we now go on to export. And by clicking on export, you will have a little message that pops up next. Do not panic. It is literally just saying that when you download your experience, if you wanted to update it after you've downloaded it, you need to go back and then obviously update that entry or adding other entry. That's all that message is summarizing. So all you do is click on OK on the blue button. And this is where you can select your different seasons or your different event areas. So event area is track and field, or if you're multidisciplined or you're multi-talented, then you can also from that top drop-down menu select off track / endurance. So you can break it down into your off track or track and field experiences. And then you can select the event season. It will always default to the most recent one. So for me, it was 24-25. And if you were doing it this time next year, it'd be 25-26. Once you've decided which one and which area you need to download, then you just simply click on that export button and it will then download the file and you can save it to your device. I do know that there's some kind of devices that have better success than others, but laptops, phones, iPads, whatever. If you do happen to encounter any difficulty downloading it, then there are various ways that the home countries or home country contacts like myself can help you kind of download it. Or if you're having great difficulty, then we can always kind of download it on your behalf and send it on to you as an emergency stand-in. And that's kind of what I've jumped ahead of myself here slightly. That when you do click on that export, you will get the same message again to click OK, and then you just open that file and save it to your device. Like I say, if you have any difficulties, then by all means, please just shout out to your home country contact or an official you know, or somebody, an official association, or your COSEC or your head of discipline. I'm pretty sure I speak on behalf of Paul and Joyce that they wouldn't be adverse to people reaching out if they kind of have any difficulties. You will be pleased to know we have reached the break. So, if you want to go and make a cup of tea, a little bit of a in your facilities break. And then what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll kind of go through that process of recording the experience and downloading it. And we'll also answer some of the questions that you've popped in the chat. So um, go and have a cup of tea, go and make a sandwich, go and have a biscuit. I know I've got mine sitting right here. But we will be back in about 5 minutes' time. If you want to kind of put your cameras off for the 5 minutes or whatever, then please do so. So, hope you've enjoyed your little break there. I think it's important to kind of break things up and not just keep talking for minutes and minutes and minutes, or kind of a long period of time. So we kind of had a couple of questions during the break in terms of the record experience. One question kind of asks about the different cutoff dates for track and field and endurance. Track and field normally is at the kind of the end of September. The 30th of September approximately is normally kind of when the outdoor season kind of concludes. And then your endurance is ordinarily the end of August. But again, there is very much kind of overlap between the two seasons. So that acts as a guide. It's only a guide. So as it's as long as kind of you have that kind of guiding in your mind, it just gives an idea of when to kind of submit your ROE. Your ROE doesn't kind of isn't only kind of reserved or for purposes of submission of your ROE. It's not just reserved for people progressing to the next level. It's also helpful to your discipline head or your COFSEC or your county official secretary as the point of contact in your county or your tri-region. It just lets people know that you're still active as an official, but also allows kind of the discipline heads and the various kind of levels within England, Wales, and Northern Ireland to ascertain if there are opportunities at higher level meetings, whether that's kind of national championships or kind of further along the process, then they know kind of if they're asked for individuals to kind of consider for these opportunities, then individuals who have submitted the record experience is kind of a handy tip or a handy aid to kind of those requests coming into the various home countries. But again, anyone can submit their ROE. It's not just reserved for people progressing to the next level. In terms of the what did I learn section, I know somebody has asked in the chat about do I need to fill in the what did I learn section. It's optional for those going to level 2, but it's mandatory for those going to level 3. However, to caveat that, I would say it's good practice. I know kind of Joyce and Paul would echo with me on this, that it was good to kind of start it at the earliest opportunity. It gets you to understand what's expected, what's the right way to, or what's the things to put in there, and kind of the various structure and things like that. And it just helps with the wider development kind of moving forward, within that record of experience process. I do as a matter of course, but then I've been around since 1900s. But it's just something that kind of, again, I go back to that kind of riding a bike analogy. The more you do it, the more you kind of are frequented with the functionalities of it. Um, One question, last one before we kind of get cracking on with the demonstration is what are the differences between track and pure cross country? So cross country is off track, whereas track is kind of track and field. You can differentiate that within your recreative experience. And if anybody is unsure in terms of what category to put things at, then people like Joyce, myself, and I know there's other people on the call, Alison Jordan, I know is on the call tonight, and there's other people on the call that will really be more than happy to help you kind of complete or help you complete the recreative experience. So I will share my screen. The only thing I would ask before I share my screen is this is my personal account, so if you could refrain from taking screenshots of it. The demo account was not operating as of 5 minutes before we let you all in, so we will use my personal account. Ignore the hideous license picture, folks. It has been stretched. That's not what's visible on your screen right now. If you've not had your tea, then I can only apologize. We'll cover the therapy costs after. So we've logged into the record of experience. You will kind of see all of this for you. It will have all your personal details on it, etc. This is what I call a dashboard, but i.e. it's your main page basically. In terms of the record of experience, we click on the record of experience label on the left-hand side, and you will be presented with this screen. Don't worry about kind of what you can see here. It just lists all your kind of previous experiences at the meetings that you've attended. Within this page, you will see add record that we talked about earlier. Now, we're going to make one up here, so I'll just put kind of YDL. You can select which event type it is, whether it's track and field or whether it's off track, cross country, road running, for example. That would be all included in the off track stuff. So for this purpose, we'll just keep it as track and field. You will see event type here and it says competition I worked at. You can, and I think I'm stealing Paul's thunder here slightly, that you can, if you're at any officials association conferences or webinars or training, they can be included within your record experience here. But for the purpose of progressing to the next level, it's just about competitions that we all work at for this session. This is what Paul was on about earlier, your event level. So this is a drop-down menu. So you will see club/open, you'll see league, you'll see region, district, and county. That, for example, could be the East Districts or the North Districts in Scotland. It could be the Warwickshire County Championships, could be the Kent County Championships, could be the inter-counties, for example, at regional level, and then it goes all the way up to national, home country, international, and disability. There is a separate drop-down menu option for disability events, i.e. the meeting itself is all for para events. If it's not listed in there, then you can click on others, or you can drop myself an email, and I can add it onto the option list. It's not unheard of that I have a senior moment or two, so if I have had one in this case, please just drop me an email. So we'll select league, and then we'll just put, I'll just put Birmingham. for the purpose of that. You will then see from the role. So there's a whole list of options here that you can select in terms of the role. Now, you could be, for example, a timekeeper. You could be a field judge. You could be a full finish judge. There's a whole list of options here for both track and field and off track. If you are, for example, at two meetings in the same day, if you're lucky enough to have that, then that'd be two separate entries. So you can go into that for each experience. Each event is one experience, as in one meeting is one experience. So for the purpose of this, and apologies if there's anybody on this call, but I'm going to pick a discipline I'm not as experienced in. So we'll just put timekeeping, for example, and let's just say there was um, 10 100-meter races. Then I personally kind of put 10 times 100-meter races, all ages, timing, position 4. A track example could be if you were a track judge, for example, go down here, could be, I don't know, 200, actually make it 800 meters races. Again, it could be, say, 8 races, 100 meters, 8 races. And it could be you were on the lap board and the bell. So again, that's it could be to incorporate that. It could be like I say, there's so many examples across the different disciplines that Joyce and Paul have articulated. All that goes within in your duties undertaken here. In terms of what did I learn? Not wishing to kind of cover overall ground that we've covered already tonight, but I think Joyce gave a really good example of seeking advice from another official. It could be to do with the lap charts. So it could be I tried the lap chart for the first time, was a bit unsure on how to keep record of all the numbers of the athletes going around the track. Spoke to, I know there's two very esteemed track colleagues on the call tonight, Joyce or Alison, and have identified that in X, Y, and Z about kind of how to record the numbers of the athletes going on the different laps. You then put your name of your chief. Do not panic if you can't remember it and you're a bit like me, and by the time you get in the car, you've forgotten what you did. So you can always either, if you've got a duty sheet, you refer to that, or you can get in contact with the meeting organizer, or you can get in contact with your home country. There's multiple ways that you can get the name of your chief timekeeper, chief full finisher, track referee, or whatever. If you can't remember the name, it's absolutely fine because there's more than one way to kind of get that name. Don't worry about the reports on you for now. But if you, for example, were going to level 2 and you got a feedback sheet carried out by someone, you can put the name of that individual there, but it's not kind of mandatory. And if you can't remember the name, it's absolutely fine. Same would be for level 3. If you were getting reports to go to level 3, you can have the option of putting the individual's name there. So you would click save on there. I'm not going to save this this particular entry, but for the purpose of this mock exercise, we'll click save. And that then kind of goes on your kind of your actual record of experience down there. If we finish the season, which it's April, so I highly doubt we have, but let's just say we have, then there's an export button there that you can click on. Again, that funny little message comes up that we were referring to earlier. Just click on OK. And you will now be presented with this screen. Again, you can select track and field or off track, i.e. cross country, road running, etc. And then you can, if you've been around a long time like I have, then you can select your different seasons. This is the latest one, but let me just pick one at random. And you then click on export. Again, that message comes up. It's just saying that if you're downloading it, and let's just say you've forgotten you forgotten an entry to put in your record of experience, or you need to update something, then you would need to go back and then update that before you then downloaded it. Now you will see on my screen that kind of it's downloaded the file. You can click open the file, or for example, you can click here, and then you can save it on your device within your or on your laptop, etc. Or you can open up your file direct. So let's just say we're going to open the file up. This was working earlier, folks. There we go. So you will then be presented with a basic Excel spreadsheet of your record experience. And this is what the pop-up message was, that if you wanted to update an entry, I could type in, I'll just enable edit because it would help. Let's just say, I needed to update an entry. That's clearly not English, but we'll go with it. I could save that on my on this Excel spreadsheet, but it wouldn't update on the portal. You would need to go back into the portal and update that. You can save that to your device, like I say. However, if for whatever reason you can't download your record of experience for whatever reason, I know technology is our best friend and our best enemy at the same time. You can. There is a send by email button there. Now that kind of only links to kind of the kind of the admin team for the portal itself. I am one of those individuals, so if you did happen to have experienced a difficulty in downloading your record experience, you can click on that, but it'll come to England. If you're from Scotland, Northern Ireland, or Wales, um, you know, by all means, you can send me your record experience. That's not a problem, and I can divert it to the home countries or your relevant home country. But these two are the main buttons that you would use: add record and your export. There's no kind of real need to kind of use the send by email function unless it was a last case resort. Picking up the phone to your home country officiating lead, whether that's Shona for Scotland, Zoe for Wales, Declan for Northern Ireland, or me for England, we'll be able to kind of help download your record experience if you have any difficulties. I'm going to pause there and turn to Paul and Joyce about any questions in the chat because I can't see that on my other screen. So if there are you able to kind of go through the questions?
Yeah, I think we've been trying to kind of just pop in answers as we've spotted them, and sometimes we've repeated what one another has said. But Paul, can you see if there's any that we haven't responded to?
I
Um,
I don't think so.
Okay.
Um,
I'll stop sharing my screen temporarily.
I am aware from my personal experience that in some cases people, and then there is a comment about having a lot of handwritten notes. A lot of people
mm,
get a great big stack of notes and then try to remember what they did 17, 18 meetings ago and then try and make their ROE work from that. That makes the what I learnt section exceptionally difficult.
yeah,
So the advice that I would give really is just get into a routine of as you're unwinding post the meeting, having walked your 48,000 steps or whatever it is on whichever meeting day you've been on, just get into the routine of sitting down for 5 minutes and making the initial entry onto your form. As Mark has just shown you, there is a way of going back into the form and editing it after you've saved it once, so you can go back in. The button for update is, in my view, on the wrong side. So it's very close to the delete button. So if you do go back in and edit something, just make sure that you don't delete the entire process and then have to start again. So watch what you're doing with that one. But you can go back in and you can re-edit a document. So Mark's going to show you that now.
Yes, I knew there was something. So you can go into, let's just say, I'll pick one at random here. So you click on the edit button against that entry, and you can go in and change, the what did I learn, or the duties undertaken, or the name of the individual. Um, Here's the buttons that Paul was on about. You've got your update button on the left-hand side. You've got the delete button on your right-hand side. Um, don't take your chances on the delete button. It's if you press that, it deletes that entry. And if you did delete that, then you would need to go back into the system and create that entry from scratch. But you can click update, and then when you go into it, it just automatically updates your record of experience there. Um, the one thing I would say in terms of your record of experience, only you as the individual can view it. Nobody else can go in and alter your record of experience. Nobody, only you. So if there was an entry missing or whatever, and you need to update something, only you can go in and update it or download it or delete it, etc. Nobody else can. But if you do have any technologically or technology kind of problems, then they are resolvable. No others can view that record of experience. Um, I just spotted another question. And that can you give guidance on which? Are you replying to that, Paul, by the chance?
I've
Yes.
just finished typing.
That's
Sorry.
perfect. Thank you very much. I'm conscious it is 10 to 8, but I'm also conscious to give everyone the opportunity to ask any questions that they haven't already put in the chat, and I'm pretty sure my colleagues would not be averse to answering any more questions. So by all means, use the raise hand function, wave at us frantically. That's a good one. By all means, please ask any questions that you've got, or um, and you
People
end.
are thinking of questions. I think I was just going to reinforce what you and Paul were saying about, and I'm saying this and I don't actually always practice what I'm preaching here, but it is much easier to keep the record of experience going as you do things. You'll remember names of referees, you'll remember what you did, you'll remember your learning. Even just a few days later, it's amazing what you forget. So to get into that habit is good. And although the drop down menus look quite lengthy, they're essentially in alphabetical order, all the endurance ones together, all the track and field. So you'll very quickly know the ones that you're normally clicking on, and you'll be able to just scan down very quickly. And then, for example, if you've written down schools championship and it's a 2 day event, when you do your second day and you start to type that, it'll come up and let you save it again, so it does save you a lot of handwriting or a lot of typing onto a traditional spreadsheet. I didn't use it for long enough and stuck with the old traditional means, and when I started to use it, I was kind of kicking myself that I didn't start doing it sooner, because once you get into the way of it, it's good. And you could all practice this evening or tomorrow morning and go in and just put this webinar in as one of the other experiences. And that would just give you a wee chance to have a shot at doing it if you haven't done it before now.
Absolutely, completely echo with that. It's I know that I speak on behalf of kind of my officiating colleagues, but also my home country officiating lead colleagues. There is a guide available on how to kind of complete your record experience. Again, I can circulate that to everyone on the call tonight. It just gives a bit of covers what we've already covered tonight, but also has a screenshot of each of the different stages. And there's also kind of record experience guidance documents that are available to the home countries um, or to all officials really. And again, I'll send them after this call. Um, you can't unfortunately import into the portal from a spreadsheet at the minute. It's something I've asked the developers to kind of work on, but it's slow progress on that front. But if you do have entries that you've completed manually, then I would suggest, as Paul and Joyce have said, to update them in or put them into the portal when you're able to, as soon as after the event or the meeting. Because yeah, if I don't do something after a couple of days, I forget about it. Any further questions, folks? I know it's been a lot to go through. Like I say, there'll be a copy of the recording, copy of the presentation. There'll also be a copy of the My Athletics Portal guide document as well that'll be sent out as well. So if you do happen to have any questions, those resources might answer them. But if not, then by all means, I'm sure I'll send the details of all the home countries as well as Joyce and Paul, and I'm sure between all the lot of us, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. If you have got previous years experiences that you've not put into the portal, but you have a manual record of it, then if you do have the time, then you can put them in. Great. But if you don't have that time, then keep that record because if you are progressing kind of to the next level, then those are very handy as well. But honestly, folks, I say this, I personally want to thank Joyce and Paul for what they've presented tonight. It's been really worthwhile, as I'm sure you'll agree. And thank you very much to you for attending tonight. I know through the various stages of the pathway, it can be a little bit daunting, or something that you've not done before can be a bit daunting, but honestly, we're all here to help. None of us will turn anybody away if they're a bit unsure about anything of the process, about the record experience. Please just reach out because we're all here to help you out. But thank you very much for your time this evening, folks, and enjoy the rest of your week.